Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Suzanne and Sarah Real Estate Podcast. We're here again.
And we are finally back just to talk about the juicy things that happen in real estate every week here in Bend, Oregon, and in our own investment lives, and just to share it with you. So here we go.
Yeah.
We're giving it a go. This week, believe it or not, it's only halfway through January, but the market's heating up. Every single house that we've looked at and or offered on for our clients this past week has had multiple offers. I wouldn't have thought. What about you, Suzanne?
No, I mean, it's pretty early for that, especially, we wrote one offer this week already that had an escalation clause. Like, that's July material, as far as I'm concerned, at least like June, July. And offer deadlines already. We had that one house where they set an offer deadline of Sunday and then they moved it up twice, I think, because it was a very aggressively priced property for the location. But yeah, I think those sellers priced it too well, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that's one interesting difference that I'm noticing is I think maybe either agents or sellers have kind of finally figured this out. It's winter and we're not pricing our houses like we're in 2021 again or yet. And that's where I'm seeing the action is, again, the homes that are priced correctly are getting a lot of activity, and it feels like there's pent up buyer demand. Like that's what I'm seeing.
Oh yeah, a lot of people I think have just been sitting on the sidelines waiting for one thing or the other to drop, prices or interest rates, and interest rates haven't made much of a move lately. So yeah, it's been really interesting just to see this type of activity so early in the year. But the other thing too, when I was writing our top picks email this past weekend, a lot of the properties we featured were properties that have been on the market for over 200 days, and some of them had been pending multiple times. And that is just where you feel so bad for the seller because either they've been misadvised or they haven't listened or something is happening where their properties just aren't selling and they're making these little minuscule price drops and it's not moving the needle. So certainly some prime opportunity if we want to be looking for some creative ways to help them get them sold if they're truly motivated.
Yeah. And I think it's funny, in the past few months, the way that I've been advising our buyers in terms of offers, and when we have had a few multiple offer situations, is just that people aren't writing offers like they used to, or at least when we've been listing agents and we've had multiple offers on our properties, the offers haven't been insane. Like we're not looking at $20, $30, $40, $50,000 over asking anymore. We're not looking at buyers, giving up all of their contingencies or giving things away from the get-go. They're pretty unimpressive offers that we've been seeing come through, which I think is just really interesting. I mean, even when buyers know that they're up against multiple offers. So that's helped us guide our buyers in terms of how to write their offers and the details in their offers. And so they're not as maybe aggressive as we've been writing offers in the past. And I think that's because they haven't had to be. And I think that's still the case that's going on. It doesn't feel like we're having to give everything away in order to win offers. But what I don't think has changed is still that timing is important, right? I mean, we still have to be moving quickly. And while we're not asking you to give everything away and write crazy over asking offers, we are asking you to act. Like you still have to actually act and submit the offer in order for it to be considered.
And I'm just going to say it here because I say it all the time in our top picks email. How much does it cost you to write an offer, folks? Zero. It is free. It is only our time. And we're pretty speedy ladies. So I would just say, throw your hat in the ring, especially if you're motivated right now and you want to get in. Like, if this is an indication of what this year is going to be like, yeah.
A really good time to get ahead of the game.
Well, Sarah, I want to ask you, what is your highlight of the past week? Or conversely, what is your learning lesson. We love learning. What have you learned in the past week? Because I know it's been a big week for you, so I'm putting you on the spot here.
Sure, no problem. So I was supposed to close on a new house last week. It's an investment.
Where'd you find this home?
I found it on Top Picks, Suzanne. We're up.
Yeah.
What's pretty funny about this house, you guys, is that I had toured it myself in the past for clients. Yeah, Suzanne's the one who had videoed it. When I toured it myself, I was like, oh, this place is a shithole. I understand why no one has bought it yet. But what I didn't look at the time was location, and that's why I ended up buying it. And gosh, I like shitholes, because I like them because I can make them beautiful and I can get them for cheap. So, anyways, I had a revelation a couple months ago that I needed to buy this place, and I've been working on it ever since, and had a pretty long closing. I was using a commercial loan product for this home, and I should know this because we advise clients about this all the time, but lenders ask for things up to the very last minute, and there just so happened to be a brand new guideline on this particular property that was effective immediately, that came up during our loan process, that caused me to not be able to close on Friday because the home no longer qualified based on something the appraiser said in the appraisal report, which had to do with one of the bedrooms and one of the bathrooms not being able to count towards the rental appraisal value. So we've had to switch gears entirely into a new loan type, new down payment, and we're just hustling to make it actually work this week. And we'll keep you posted on that. I'm still hopeful, and I know I'm going to get it done, but you just got to be flexible and you just have to be creative. So that's number one for me. And number two, I listed both of our fourplexes for sale by owner on Zillow this weekend, the ones in Missouri, because I think we've just decided we want to bring our money home, and our time might be better spent elsewhere. So keep you posted on that too.
Wow, Sarah, that is an incredibly big week. Yeah, I mean, you're doing all the things, and that's certainly a lot. And anything that we do with our own portfolios always benefits our clients and our mentees, and just like the general environment that we're in, because we're learning from experience and taking the hard knocks and the wins where they come. So thank you for leading the charge in both of these. I'm curious to see how it'll go. It sounds like you've had a lot of response, like strong response to your FSBO fourplexes in St. Louis, which is awesome. And so, yeah, keep us posted on that, because I'd love for us to be able to share with the audience how that goes and what it looks like for you.
Will do. Yeah. I mean, I'm always saying, Suzanne, that we didn't have to pay for the education in order to get our licenses, right? But we pay for a lot of really expensive lessons through our own investments. And that's the value that we really bring, right? Is we learn how to do it all and make the expensive mistakes for you. And it's really just about us realizing our own value and what we have to bring for you. It's worth a lot of money, guys. So hope you can see the value there, where we can save you the money and the time and the headache, because we've been through it.
Well, let's see. I can share one interesting thing just from my own real estate portfolio. I don't even know if I've shared it in the podcast, but I will now. I bought a property sub 2 sight unseen in North Carolina a couple of weeks ago, and just through a video tour through someone in my mastermind group who brought me the deal, and the numbers looked good, and so I bought it. It was great. I mean, a few hiccups, we'll talk about those along the way, but just with forms at closing, which is really important. But we got it all done, and then my tenants asked if they could renegotiate their lease, which people don't know that a lease actually supersedes and goes on top of a sale. So like a lease is transfers with a sale, right? Like when you bought your fourplexes in St. Louis, you bought them subject to the leases and tenants that were in there, right? For better or worse. And same with me when I bought in Michigan and with these tenants. And so that's exactly what I explained to the tenants, was like, I can't change your lease. I'm bound to it just as much as you are, because you signed this lease before I bought the property. Even though it was with the previous owner, we did do some paperwork to change ownership. But yeah, that's just something I think important for people to know is like, yes, there are opportunities for cash for keys, but I wanted to keep these tenants. And they have told me multiple times, like, they want to live there until they die. Like, they love this place. So, what I wasn't able to do is renegotiate the terms of their lease, but what I did offer was an extension just to give them some more security of knowing that they have this place for more than a year. So, we did another year extension. So, we extended it for 2 years at the rate that they're currently paying. And that was a win. It was a win across the board because I know I have tenants who love the place, who want to stay there, who are invested. They've been there for 8 years already. So yeah, that was a good conversation to have.
I'm curious about a couple things. One, what diligence did you do on these tenants before you bought it? And two, what did they want to renegotiate in their lease?
The diligence was I was on a FaceTime with the wholesaler and the tenants were there. So got to talk to them. And I mean, not much. Like, all I knew was that they had been there for 8 years. They had essentially, I don't know exactly the logistics of how this worked, but they had essentially been responsible for keeping their landlord out of foreclosure. They, I think, in some cases, directly paid the mortgage on behalf of this owner because they didn't want to lose their home. They had painted it. They had done multiple updates. I can't remember what all they were, but like, as I was walking through, it was like a 30-minute, FaceTime. And they were showing me all the things that they had updated in the 8 years that they've lived there. They showed me the paint cans that they had just bought, but were waiting to use until they knew that they were going to for sure be able to stay. Because if this seller didn't sell, he was going to lose the house. So they were actually really grateful that someone came in who was responsible and pays their bills and all that, so that they knew that they had a home and security and all that. So the only piece that they wanted to renegotiate was the rent amount.
They obviously wanted to go down. That was
Yeah.
sorry. That was a dumb
Yeah. No, you're right. I need to be more specific. So what I did was, prior to that conversation, I had a hint from the wholesaler that this conversation was coming, thank goodness. So I ran my comps for the neighborhood and I talked him through it. I was like, here's what I'm seeing. This is 2 doors down from you. This is around the block from you. This is the going rate for your neighborhood and it's in your lease. And this is really one of the main reasons why I bought the house. Like, if I hadn't bought this place, you also wouldn't have a place to live for very long if this seller lost the property. So the conversation went really well and it was a solid negotiation.
Mhm. Mhm. Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fun stuff. Sarah, what would we do more and less of in the past week?
I'm thinking of just the fact that you looked ahead at our schedule this week and last week, and you knew that these weeks were tough weeks and busy weeks and had a lot going on. And this is not a more or less of, but I think just knowing myself, I've got a lot going on, and I guess maybe when to ask for you to step in more and help more. But I don't have to ask for that, I think, because you're just so darn conscientious and we're already looking ahead. Could I have survived without you asking and doing more? Yes. But did you make my weekend and my week ahead just so much more lighter and easier because you're thoughtful and looking ahead for me and looking out for me? Yes. So that's not a do more or do less, I guess, but just grateful that there's that communication and support there for these.
Thank you. And I know you do the same. And so thank you for saying that. And I'm happy to help out during these big weeks. Like, buying a house is a big deal, even though we're real estate investors and we have these portfolios and all the things. Like, yes, we're professionals, but like, it's still a lot. It's still emotional, right? And it impacts everyone in your family. Your kids are switching schools. You're preparing for a move and all these things. So it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, in a time where we're not super busy in terms of active clients, but we are really busy in terms of continuing to build out our business and doing the things that are timely for this season in real estate in order to set us up for success for the rest of the year. So for us, those things are continuing to refine our systems. As far as just right now, we're working on refining our buyer and seller checklist. We are building out this new podcast and on all the things that go along with that. We are honing in on our transaction and income goals for 2025. We are shutting down our transaction and income goals from 2024 and collectively working on our accounting for the last year. So it's still a really busy time of year in so many ways. And this is a really important time of year that I think can get overlooked by agents because they feel like they can relax this time of year when really, no, it's the time to be gearing up because we see all this pent up demand coming and we're reaching out to sellers who we're going to be helping prepare listings for this spring. And yeah, so I think just because maybe we're not putting a lot of people under contract or getting ready for a lot of closings in the next couple weeks, everything we're doing right now is still super important to the success of the rest of our year.
100%. We've had 2 like 3-hour long marketing meetings in the last couple of weeks to streamline the stuff we've already been doing and layer on a few new things this year. So this podcast being one of them. All right. Well, we talked about the fact that our market is heating up. Talked about the fact that lenders add things all the way up until closing day, which can be annoying, but these things can be overcome with creativity and an open mind.
Yeah, that and just really truly having the right people on your team. I mean, that's really what's saving this is the lender that I'm working with in this particular situation is doing everything he can in his power to make it happen. And that just wouldn't happen with anybody. Like we could have gotten to this point with another lender and they'd be like, well, sorry, Sarah, like you don't have an extra 5% down to put down on this house because your LTV changed. Like can't move forward. But instead we're looking at some other creative solutions to come up with that money. So yeah, that's
Yeah, that is a big one. And we talked about vetting new tenants and how to have a conversation with, what could have been a hard conversation with a new tenant. Can I renegotiate the terms of my lease? And finding a common ground that really answers the underlying need in this case, which is security. And I think that's the case for a lot of tenants, just knowing like, can I stay? Is my rent going to be affordable?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, just to build on that, truly the biggest lesson that I've learned buying multifamily properties is that tenants are the number one thing to do diligence on, especially if it's in a market where you're not familiar with the demographic or the people so much, or even in just like those lower income demographics, especially real important to do your diligence on tenants. And I've learned some savvy ways to do that.
Yes. Yes. And then from a partnership perspective, it's about supporting each other when we need it most.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. And another reason why we work so well together is we can oftentimes anticipate what the other person needs and offer proactively to be of service when someone's got a lot going on. So glad to be in that position this time, and you do it for me so much. I mean, I don't know how many of you realize this, but I'm 9 hours ahead. So Sarah has been really covering me from 2 p.m. Pacific time until she's off for the day, which is a heavy lift. So thank you, Sarah, for covering for me for what has been a long time.
You're more than welcome. It's fun to do things different and have to like shift things around and try new things. This is why we're doing this. We're not doing this so we can both sit in the office every day. We're doing this so we can live our lives freely and independently.
Yes. Yes, that is the goal for us and for many of our clients and for many of our mentees and the general real estate community. We're using real estate as a tool. A tool for what? To create the lives that we want. And that looks different for different people. So it's awesome to be able to support each other in making that happen.
All right. Well, next week we're going to be back with what else is going on in the real estate world here in Bend. Maybe we'll have one or two more people under contract by then, and we'll have some more stories for you about our clients. We'll certainly touch base back with you on what happened with my unconventional loan type, actually able to close on that, and anything else that makes us laugh or cry next week, we'll share with you.
Until then, please, if you are enjoying our show, give us some feedback. Write a review. What do you want to hear more of, less of? And if you like what you're hearing, then subscribe. We'd love to be able to get this to you directly every single time we record it.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.